Welcome back to another video. You have seen the title of this video, and to be quite honest with you, I didn't quite know how to title it. So I finally settled on this particular title, but so many different things came to mind when I sat down and started doing the research to put this video together. And to be quite honest, I have labored over this video for some time. I've been in prayer about it for some time. And I think it can take a couple different directions, and it's going to take some part 2s and part 3s, possibly just expounding on this topic. But today I just really want to focus on the topic of womanhood, and in terms of women who do not feel that they had a mother figure, or if they had a mother in their life, it was a pretty traumatic experience, should I say, and how it has impacted them as a woman today. And I have some personal experience with this, and it may not be as traumatic as some, but I can somewhat understand it. But I had no idea the burden this has on a lot of women. We can kind of see this kind of manifesting itself based upon what we see on social media. We typically I don't really see mother figures anymore, meaning the women that are in their 60s and 70s and even in their 50s and 80s really mothering. I think everybody wants to be popular. And so a lot of times younger women coming up, or middle-aged women, we did not have the structure and the foundation. And we learn about womanhood through the school of hard knocks and making a lot of mistakes, but you didn't have anybody you can go back to and say, hey, how do you do this? You know, what does this mean in this particular stage in my life? And it is getting fewer and fewer. It's not like probably when my grandmother and my mother came along, you had women that was willing to invest in younger women, but now you have grandmothers and great-grandmothers trying to do what the granddaughters doing and what the daughters are doing. And so it just doesn't line itself out. So my question for you today is, what does womanhood mean to you? What does being feminine mean to you? And what does femininity mean to you? And so I hope as I go on, I'm going to be able to share my thoughts on and give you my perspective on that. So some weeks ago, I came across this question, and it's not that I never thought about it, but I did not know how many people this was a burden to. So this is, I don't know, this is several pages. I'm gonna put this on the screen so you all can see it, but this is several pages from a forum where women was expressing this same topic, this same concern about womanhood and not feeling feminine, not knowing their feminine side, not knowing what it is to be girly. What does that look like to them? And so my hope today is to say from an adult woman to the young girl who may be an adult now, that I'm sorry, especially if this was something that you had to experience at the hands of an abuser, that you was abused, or you didn't feel recognized, you didn't feel acknowledged. Oftentimes when we grow up with our parents, or these people who were supposed to cover us and shelter us and help us be productive humans as we grow up, a lot of times we are parented by people who are broken. We are parented by people who don't like themselves, and then they pass that on to their children, or they hate a life choice that they made and they're making that child pay for that life choice. Or we have someone who is really mentally and emotionally incapable and unfit to be a parent, but children are exposed to that environment. So to the person who was abused, a young lady or young woman right now, or whether or not you're an old adult, I'm saying from one woman who's an adult to that child in you, that I'm sorry that an adult did not protect you and cover you in that way. And unfortunately, we're talking about mothers here, which I heard Dr. Phil say this one time, that the most powerful role model in a child's life is the same-sex parent. So if you didn't have that role model, it can be very difficult in navigating womanhood. But there is hope. So a little bit of my story. I didn't go through abuse, but my mother became sick when I was 10 years old, and she died by the time I was 15. And so during that time, even though I had her in my life, she was in a place that she was incapacitated, that she could not steer me and guide me in those teen years. You know, being 10, you know, a lot of things happen from 10 to 15, and I didn't have that guidance. And no one in her family who was a female stepped in to kind of be the rear guard and come up in the rear and help. And so I was always told what I couldn't do, what I couldn't become, but nobody ever told me what I could do. No one ever told me the investment that God made in me, not man. No one ever told me this is how a woman should present herself, and this is how a woman should act. This is what a woman should expect from a man. This is how a woman should carry herself. This is how a young teenage girl should now start taking care of her personal hygiene and all those things. And so just like probably many of you who will watch this video, I was in the same situation that I had to learn by the school of hard knocks. And sometimes life is the best teacher, but sometimes learning it that way is not the best. And so I understand, and I'm not trying to minimize those of you who went through abuse, physical abuse, and just emotional torment. And I'm so sorry that those things happened to you. And I want to say there is hope. And if you're dealing with this right now, no matter what age you are, maybe you went on and had children, there is hope, and you can turn things around so you don't pass that down to your young daughter in the next generation, so you can break the cycle. So again, I said I kind of found this topic by perusing online and saw I was in a forum, and I'm gonna put that up so you all can kind of see. This is a huge topic, and so many people have been broken because of it. And also I found this on some YouTube videos where women have put this in the comments about they don't know how to be feminine, they don't know how to be girly, they don't know how to be around other women because they feel so awkward and out of place. And so I'm hoping that I can give you something that you can use right now to help you navigate this. This gets harder as you get older. If you can kind of turn the corner when you're younger, sometimes that turn is not as sharp, but as you get older, it's just so much harder to make that U-turn or make that complete turnaround. But it's possible. Anything is possible for those who believe, okay? I want to say this first. I want to say that gender identity is a real issue. And I think that is largely because in today's society, we do not have a clear definition of what it is to be feminine and what it is to be masculine. And I think as a society, we do a poor job of that. And I think that causes a lot of confusion when it comes to gender identity. So I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge the fact that being feminine is not something that you necessarily do. It's just who you are. If you're a female, you're feminine. That's just kind of comes with the process. But what people have to understand, there is levels to this. So there's a wide range to femininity. But the mere fact that you have that XX chromosome makes you feminine. It's nothing that you can do about that. That's the way that you was born. No matter what you identify as, if you was born with that XX chromosome, that means that you're female, then it's nothing that you can do about it. Now, what it is, there is a range in how you show up in the world and how feminine you show up. Okay, so what I call that is, I've heard this term, enhanced femininity. Okay, there are some people who are like me that like to wear the makeups, the wigs, and so on and so forth, and the high heels and all these different types of things. That's enhanced femininity. Then you maybe have one woman who likes to wear t-shirts and joggers, and she keeps her hair pulled back in a ponytail, no makeup. She's still feminine, but that's her level of femininity, and there's nothing wrong with that. Do I think all of us can benefit from improving our level of femininity no matter where we are? Yes, because it's just like a house. You don't buy a house that is bare, that only has primer on it. You always want the house to have a coat of paint. You want the house to have furniture, decoration, and so on and so forth. And so you can look at your lifestyle as that way. But how much decoration you want is for the individual. So you can be a minimalist, but your house can be in order and neat, and you can have one of these houses that's extravagant, okay, and that you have all the bells and whistles, right? So, but femininity is not something that you choose. I believe the feminine side of a woman is because you are female. It's that XX chromosome. So, but there's levels to it, and either way, it's not wrong. I think the hardest thing that I see today is that other women still pick on other women because they choose to live a life of enhanced femininity and you don't. There are women that still talk about women who wear makeup. There's women that talk about women who wear wigs. There are women who talk about women who wear their hair natural, who bleach their hair, who cut their hair. We have all this judgment as females against each other, and nothing is wrong with it. Do I think there's a place for improvement for everybody? Absolutely. I think you should do whatever it takes to make you look your best and make you feel comfortable in that particular state, in that season that you're in. It's because it's going to change as your life changes, right? As you get older, things change for you. You know, you may take away some things, you may add some things, but is it wrong? It's not wrong, but it's hard for us to get ahead as women when women is the one that's always attacking another woman. Okay, you shouldn't knock another woman because she wear makeup or lashes or go get her nails done, and all those types of things. That's just because that's her level of femininity. Now, what I will say, being feminine has nothing to do with your sex organs. It does not have nothing to do with you having a BBL. It has nothing to do with you wearing veneers. It has nothing to do with you have a boob job. It has nothing to do with you walking half naked. That comes down to morals and your values and how you want to carry yourself and how you want to be presented in the world. Unfortunately, on social media today, it is the woman who is dressed in the most scandalous, has the biggest rear end, speaks in the most, I guess you would say, the most carnal way, the most filthiest way, is the one who gets attention. I don't want young girls and women to buy into that either, because that's not the way. That does not say that you're a woman. That says that you are someone who does not have a lot of self-respect, okay? So femininity has nothing to do with your sex organs, okay? And how many people that you sleep with, how many, if you're married, do you have a man in your life? All those things, this is what society put on us. You being feminine is, God has already decided that at your birth. Now, what you choose to do with that, that's your business. But at birth, that was decided because you have a XX chromosome. You are female, you are feminine. Now, there's levels to that. You can scale it back or you can scale it up as you choose to. But I think one big thing that we have to understand as women, to stop putting down other women because that woman chooses not to live like you do. And because oftentimes when we come from these types of backgrounds where we've been put down by our mothers or we've been put down by other women or we didn't have that support, because you're broken and hurt, you want to now impose that onto another woman. And that's unfair and it's unkind. And as women, in order to get ahead, we have to learn to stop doing that. I just want to share with you a few statements that I read that was really impactful to me. One quote I read, it says, "I never had a solid mother figure to teach me how to be a girl, only had the masculine." A second quote was, I have so much masculine energy that I want to enhance my femininity, but also keep my masculine energy as a secret weapon. There was another quote that said, "I was actually made fun of constantly all the time in remarks towards how I looked and why I dressed up. Suddenly they were asking me, why am I trying to get attention? Or is there someone you like, blah, blah, blah." And a third quote, it said, "I never got a chance to be feminine as a child. I was treated like a boy and not encouraged to pursue feminine interests. Anything related to womanhood wasn't taught to me, even very basic things. This didn't affect me too much until puberty, when it became clear my female peers had an advantage I didn't. In my teenage years, I worked hard on my own to be more feminine, but struggled severely to accept and understand femininity. Now as an adult, I have a much better understanding of myself and what it means to be a woman. My main struggle currently is the ability to make female friends and understand female friendships in general. These are quotes that I got or obtained from, like I said, from this forum that I was looking on, some YouTube responses on some other videos that I did research about. This is a huge problem. So what can I say today that to give you some tangible, some executionable things that you can do to help you if you're struggling with this? The first thing I want to say to you, I said earlier, is that I'm so sorry that if anyone made you feel like you're less than a girl, that you wanted to be a girl, you didn't know how to be a girl, and you had all this confusion. And I think this is a big problem. A lot of times, young boys and girls are being pushed to be adults too fast. If you don't have a boyfriend, if you don't have a girlfriend, people automatically assume you're gay. Then if you're out here having sex and you're sleeping around, then they're calling you a whore. And so you don't know what to do because you haven't received a proper foundation and you don't know where to start. So this is the first thing I want to say to you. For those people who betrayed you in the past, including yourself, I would open you up to the idea of forgiveness. I would open you up to the idea of forgiving those people who hurt you, whether it was your mother, whether it was your grandmother, and all these types of things, whether it was a man. A lot of women, if you talk to them, who end up in a lesbian type relationship or same-sex relationship, they've experienced abuse from a man, and a lot of times it's somebody in their family or somebody that they know. I would encourage you to forgive. And then the second thing is I would encourage you to forgive yourself. A lot of things you didn't know, and to give yourself grace to understand. As a child, there's a lot of things we just don't know, that we're not capable of understanding, and it's only as we mature that hopefully we grasp on to these things that we need to be doing or we should have did, without now taking that dysfunction and putting it on somebody else, which is maybe your children. I know personally there are so many women that are in their 40s and 50s, and they don't even understand personal hygiene. They don't know how to clean their bodies. The only way they know to, and I know this sounds strange, but the only way they really know that they're valid and that what they matter, if they have someone in their life sexually. There's a lot of women, and you all may know women like this, who the only time that they take care of themselves or even show that they have any care about their whole life, if they're with a man. Okay, and then when they break up with the man, they let themselves go. Then when they have a man they like, they pull themselves together. I'm pretty sure you've met women, if they come into a room and there's a bunch of women, there's a man in there, they have an attitude towards the woman who's not paying this man any attention. But because she desperately wants attention from any man, it doesn't even have to be this man, just any man, she now has an attitude with other women. And this is a problem. Right? It's a problem. It's a dysfunctionality that we need to address. And the only way you can truly address these types of things is being honest with yourself. Okay? A man does not make you female. A man does not make you feminine. And if you're building your life around you thinking or being a woman or operating as a woman around whether or not you have a significant other in your life, you have lost the battle, because sooner or later that's going to wear out. Sooner or later, maybe your features will change, your beauty will change, and all those types of things. And then what? Okay? And so we have to learn to love ourselves as ourselves, right? And we have to learn to love who God made us as individuals. You know, I was researching before I got started recording this video this morning, and it's over 8 billion people in the world. And God is so creative and He is so kind. Even though we are image bearers of Him, we are all different. None of us carry the same fingerprint. We don't look alike. You may have some similarities to one of your family members, but you're different. You're created by the Creator to bring your own individual perspective to this world. And we need it. None of us need to be the same. And even if you're an African American woman looking at me, you're a brown girl, we are different. We're not the same. And so the things that you like and what you do is going to be different from me. And it doesn't mean it's wrong. That's what makes us different. That uniqueness is what makes us different. And so unfortunately, because of social media is a powerful tool if used with the right motives. But because of social media, so many people think what you see on social media is what really says that you're a woman, and it does not. It says that you're female, and it does not. And it gives a person who's already insecure the wrong outlook and the wrong motive on how to handle day-to-day living. And you see, if you pay attention, a lot of times, many of these people go through a lot of psychological breakdowns every year. Mentally, they have to go somewhere and take a retreat, or you see them drop off social media because you're pretending to be somebody else. That has to weigh on you after a period of time. Every day you get up and you try to be somebody else, doing what somebody else wants you to do, and you never live a life knowing who you are. That has to weigh on you eventually. So the first thing I said is forgiveness, and the second thing is really sit down. There's a scripture that says, examine yourselves to see whether or not you're in the faith. And I would say this to you, to examine yourself, to really know who you are. Sit down and be honest with yourself and do some inventory, do a critique. Am I being authentic to myself? Am I living out this life and I'm being true to who I am? Or am I trying to be a version of what I think the world wants me to be? And that is very powerful in your growth. That is very powerful in your healing. As a woman, you need to know who you are. You need to know what you like and what you dislike, what you want and what you don't want. And it does not have anything to do with what somebody else expects from you. What is the expectation that you have for yourself? What are your core values? What are your morals? What are those things that make you tick? Okay? And you don't have to be like anybody else. You don't have to sound like anybody else. You don't have to dress like anybody else. You don't have to eat what somebody else is eating. You don't have to expose yourself to all these different things that usually is not going to end up to your benefit like other people do. You just have to learn how to be you. That is my second tip. Learn how to be you. Number 3 is this. Femininity and being a woman is a huge deal, right? As women, we wear so many hats, we have so many responsibilities. And, you know, a lot of times I look at men, they don't realize how good they really have it, right? And you have to understand scripturally, starting in the Garden of Eden, with Eve and the serpent, Satan is going to always have conflict with a woman. And anytime a woman shows up, the gates of hell are disturbed, okay? And you have to understand from a biblical standpoint the power and the power that God has given us as women. And so a lot of times, if you don't understand biblically what you're going through, your fight is going to be that much harder. But you fight from love because of what Jesus did. You fight from faith, okay? You don't fight for love. You don't fight for attention. You don't fight to belong, because you already are a part of a family. God adopted you into his family. And so even if you don't have a biological family, and many of us, even if we do, oftentimes those relationships are broken or they're dysfunctional, and you really can't rely on those relationships. I just want to encourage you. The third thing for you to do is really understand who you are in Christ Jesus. I truly believe a lot of the problems that we have is because we don't know our identity in Christ. And man, if you don't have that down, you're going to struggle for the rest of your life. Because again, you didn't get to choose this family that you came through. You didn't get to choose your mother. You didn't get to choose your father, your siblings, your grandparents, and all these types of things. And unfortunately for many of us, we just don't have good role models to look at. Yes, for a Christian, it is very helpful to have a living example, someone that has skin that you can see, right? Because we're supposed to be image bearers for each other. But sometimes, unfortunately, because of circumstances in life, we don't have that. I want to encourage you to know who you are in the kingdom of God. Know your identity in Christ. Know what it means that, for what Jesus did on the cross, what that divine exchange meant for you. What did Jesus do for you? And then what he did, what is the authority that was given to you? And then try now to exemplify your life through the eyes of Jesus Christ. That will give you a whole new perspective. Because again, I say, I understand dysfunctional families. I understand when you don't have someone to look at, okay? And God will be able to show you how he wants you to show up as a woman, right? You can go to him and say, God, these are the things that I'm dealing with. This is where I'm hurting. This is where I've been bruised. Can you show me now how to become the woman that you always created to me to be? And if you genuinely want that, I promise you, he'll show you. But I think a lot of times our views and our mindset is skewed because we're making identity be a part of a person when it all should be identity should be in Jesus Christ. He is the one that sacrificed it all for you and for I, not your parents. God knows, God bless your mother's womb that you came through, and God bless that sperm that fertilized that egg. But at the end of the day, it's about Jesus Christ. And I promise you, if you'll focus on that, you'll get a different perspective about who you are. You forget a different perspective about your power and your authority. You won't allow people now to come in and infiltrate, to be able to step in and stand on and to traumatize you about who you are and where you are. You'll understand your importance. You'll understand your power, and you'll understand what they're saying does not make or break you, okay? Because as long as what they say doesn't line up with what God says, you can file 13 that, right? And you can begin to focus on what God says. I think a lot of us, we just need to flush ourselves with the word of God and what God says about us, and be around people who are doing that, being around people who will encourage you in that way, and not sitting here focusing on the past, because at some point that's not going to get you anywhere. Use it as a way to fuel you. Ask God to use every broken piece that you went through, every hurtful moment, and use that to empower you to be the best person that you can be right now. And then the last thing I'm going to say is this right here. If unfortunately that you was abused at the hands of your mother, and you wasn't shown how to be feminine, you wasn't shown how to really navigate this world as a woman, I want you to see your mother as someone else's daughter versus your mother. And not as a way of an excuse, but as a way to say, how did she start out and what was the foundation that she was given? And from the perspective of seeing her as somebody else's daughter, that is the place that I want you to forgive her. Not as your mother, but I want you to forgive her in the place of somebody else's daughter, right? Your grandmother's child versus your mother. And the reason I say that is because parents are supposed to be gifts to their children. And oftentimes we don't receive that. A lot of times we don't receive that from our parents because they wasn't given that as a child themselves. And this is where forgiveness comes from. And for many of you, this will be the situation that even though you may forgive your parent, which is, we're speaking about mothers in this particular case, you may not be able to have a healthy relationship with her, and that's okay. But if you operate from a place of forgiveness and compassion from what she did or didn't do in your life, it will help you move forward, and it will give you a place and a space for your children, okay? I'm not telling anybody if you was abused and you was hurt, because I have no idea what you went through to go and try to reconcile a relationship. What I am saying is, for your peace and for your growth, in order for you to move forward, I am saying for you to forgive and to be able to see her as a daughter versus your mother. And I just think it'll give you a different perspective. I want to share with you something that I read from this book. is called Maximize Your Potential. This is by Dr. Miles Monroe. This book is chock full of just great things if you're trying to maximize your potential and really show up as the powerful person God called you to be. There's so many things, nuggets that I can share, but I want to read to you a few of them. So on page 16, and I would encourage you to get this book. I'm going to link it down below. But on page 16 in this book, at the time he wrote it, it was 5.8 billion people on earth, but we know it's over 8 billion at this particular point in 2024. And it says, I am convinced that our Creator never intended for us to be normal. That is, to get lost in the crowd of the norm. This is evidenced by the fact that among, he says 5.8, I'm going to say 8 billion people on this planet, no two individuals are alike. Their fingerprints, genetic code, and chromosome combination are all distinct and unique. In reality, God created all people to be originals, but we continue to become copies of others. Too often, we are so preoccupied with trying to fit in that we never stand out. You were designed to be distinctive, special, irreplaceable, and unique. So refuse to be normal. Go beyond average. Do not strive to be accepted. Rather, strive to be yourself. Shun the minimum. Pursue the maximum. Utilize all your functions. Maximize yourself. Use yourself up for the glory of your Creator. I admonish you, die empty, die fulfilled by dying unfilled. So I wanted to share that quote with you, and hopefully that sparks something in you to know that even though maybe you didn't have a mother figure and maybe someone told you all the things you could not be, the only limit that we have in our lives, honestly, is the limit that we put on ourselves. This is a topic that means a lot to me, and I hope that God releases me to share more about this, about womanhood. How do you come out of the trenches when you've been through so much in life? I know that it's possible. I know that it's painful, and I know that growing sometimes hurt. I think all of us have to learn how to figure out how to live a life that is going to be peaceful for us. And sometimes living that life that is going to bring you peace means that you have to let go of everything that brought you pain. It doesn't mean that you don't love your parents. It doesn't mean that you don't love your family. But sometimes the best way to love somebody is just not having them in your life. Okay, so I don't want you all to think that you need to be around an abuser. You need to be around someone who has treated you poorly. You do need to forgive if you want God to forgive you, and you genuinely need to do that. And sometimes the best way, the Bible tells us, if at all possible that lies in you, be at peace with all men. And sometimes being at peace with all men is not being around that particular man. And man, I'm using this universal male and female, okay? I just wish that every woman would be able to find and pursue and walk out her true potential. Knowing too that there's ebbs and flows in this life, and you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to wear t-shirts and the sweatpants, that's great. And if you want to wear a ball gown and 5-inch heels every day, that's great. You know, if you want a minimalistic lifestyle, that's great. You want a capsule wardrobe, that's great. But if you want a walk-in closet with shoes, that's great. As long as it's not gluttony, and as long as it's something that glorifies God, because all of our lives are different and God gives us all different instructions as we consecrate ourselves, then do it. Don't limit yourself because of what somebody else is doing, and don't be a copycat of another woman, because you are so perfect all by yourself, and the world needs to know who you are. We don't need any more copycats. We just need to know who you are. I pray that this video blesses you, and I pray that I was able to make sense out of something that makes no sense. Abuse is very prevalent in this world, and we are finding so many women who have just lost their way, and we are reproducing kids that will follow in that same footstep. And I pray that this helps you navigate and move forward. As the Lord leads me, I will share more conversations like this. But until then, YouTube is going to recommend another video that they think you're going to be interested in. And stay tuned for any upcoming videos. Be blessed, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.